Did you know what was the first thing that came into my mind when I saw the wings of this albedo sagging down and having to be supported by a pair of metal rods? Yes, reminded me of Dead Crows in a way. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. For today, I want to have a small discussion with you guys regarding anime figures by this one specific brand, which is actually a very famous one, Furyu, and also their subdivision Phoenix, right? They make both prize figures and scale figures, but initially they made a name for themselves many years ago via prize figures. In fact, I have a lot of nice things to say about their newer prize figures, especially their Bi-Cute series of bunny figures. They are tall, they are large, and they are cheap, 2500 yen plus minus. In my Makima Bi-Cute bunny figure review last week, yeah, right up there, I had a lot of praise for that figure. Like, even when I compare that one price figure with the more expensive scale figures, I would say things are looking good for that Bi-Cute bunny of Makima over there, right? That was a well-made figure. But you just couldn't say the same thing for their scale figure division. Yeah, things are crashing and burning really hard right now. If you told me a Furyu scale figure that sells for 35,000 yen going down to 20,000 yen, I wouldn't be surprised at all, given how much flack and how much criticism I have given them over the past year. But to see a 35,000 yen go below 10,000 yen after discount, I think this is really rare. I wouldn't say it is unprecedented because similar things has happened before, more than a decade ago. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, but for more context, we are going to jump into AmiAmi first. Alright, normally I use HLJ for my videos because they are an affiliate partner of this channel, but for the sake of comparison reasons, I think AmiAmi is the best one over here because number one, they have a lot of stuff on sale unlike HLJ, simply because AmiAmi is a way larger store, one of the biggest in fact. So their inventory is bigger, so we get a larger sample of data in a way, right, for comparison. Okay, so now we go into AmiAmi. This is their sale section, Bishoujo figures section, where there are over 550 figures on sale at the time of recording. However, if you look at the left column over here, when you narrow things down by brand, Furyu is in first place for having the most figures on fire sale. Furyu has 49 figures at the time of recording. In close second place, Free Ink 48. Yeah, so I think a difference of one figure is, to me, it is the same thing, not much of a difference. Free Ink is a different story altogether. I'll touch on them briefly at the end of this video because that is not the main topic for today. Hell, even their most expensive product line, Japanese Doll series, is not spared. Like 168,000 yen down to 134. Yes, that is only like 15 or 20% off, but still, I mean, 33,000 yen off. Like, if you are looking for one of these, this is a good buy. At least it is only 130k instead of 168. The main topic for today, yeah, this figure went viral last weekend when it was posted in Reddit. I think by now it should have over 200 comments, if not more. I shared it in my Facebook page and also as a community post on this channel. And despite this figure going viral for all the wrong reasons, she is not yet sold out. It shows us how nobody wants this figure for a very good reason. So this figure of power from Chainsaw Man at 1/7 scale by Furyu went down from 35,000 yen all the way down to 9,800 yen. Should you get one? Okay, before I answer that question, a little bit of context. I loved to insult or criticize Furyu, to be exact, because they overpriced their figures, and when the figure does finally come out, the detail level, the sophistication and the level of refinement just isn't there. Like, it feels like a 15,000 yen figure rather than a 30,000+ yen figure. And more than often, what they show us in their product photos, yeah, the final result, the final product does not look as nice as what was being promised, partly because of photography. Of course, when you photograph a figure in a studio setting, you do proper lighting, the figure tend to look really good. And even some details that are non-existent will appear to be there because of shadows, right? When you control lighting properly, you get shadows on the folds, on her jacket and so on her white shirt as well. See all this gray color region over here? Some people will mistake that as shading when it is not. In this picture over here, this main picture, all the shadows you're seeing is a result of lighting. Fuvio barely did any shading on the paintwork on her outfit. There is some on the hair, but not the outfit, right? The best way to show you guys what I mean by low levels of detail in a Fuvio figure, yeah, to show you guys user pictures, where there are 18 of them at the time of recording, very few, especially for a character that is very mainstream, very popular last year itself, right? So we take a look at this picture over here, the entire figure. What does this picture tell you? To me, I feel like I'm looking at a price figure. Yeah, a slightly better price figure, and that is the problem over here. The base, right? It doesn't look like concrete or rocks to me. You see some figure brands, when they do a diorama base, the rock, the debris and everything else, they look pretty realistic. Not the case over here. I feel like I'm looking at grey plastic. Yeah, there is a bit of shading on the concrete, but barely enough. That is the problem over here. And then, the next picture I'm about to show you guys explains everything about this figure you need to know. This one right here. And look at her jacket, her white shirt. I told you guys, the product pictures you guys saw by Fuvio, those are shadows from lights, from studio lights, not painting. And in this figure, I think this picture over here is the best example. The blue jacket, just plain blue, solid chunk of blue plastic. Same applies to her white shirt and pretty much what she is wearing over there, like literally no shading. There is mild shading on her hair, that is it. And while there is nothing wrong with her face looks fine in my opinion, that is not enough to make up for all of the lacking stuff in this figure. So this is not a 35,000 yen figure. This at best is comparable to Kotobukiya Art FX series. Yeah, Kotobukiya Art FX series figures, they look very similar to this, but at least Kotobukiya is asking 15,000 to 18,000 yen for each of those figures at 1/8 scale. This one 1/7 scale, this shouldn't be more than 20,000 yen. But what surprised me was the Ami discount down to 10,000 yen. I said it from the beginning, this is no more than 20,000 yen. Looking at the level of quality over here. Next picture right here, so we get to see Power scratching her itchy ass. Alright, there is indeed shading on the areas that are red in color. The pillar, her scarf, and a lot of the stuff here, there are some shading in the paintwork. Even the hair is quite obvious. However, it just feels like something is lacking. Like, I have no idea how Fuvio is so good at making their seemingly good-looking figures less detailed in the final products. Like, this is consistently happening for the past few releases. In fact, for the past 1 year. And this picture over here, this is the best looking picture among all of the user pictures, judging by how the original poster, the author, did the lighting. Now, yeah, this picture could have been better from the perspective of a photographer over here. But when you do good lighting, I think you guys can agree that Power, this figure, is beginning to look a bit better in this picture compared to the previous picture over here, right? So this is the power of lighting, and Fuvio is making use of studio lighting to make a figure look better than it is. That is what I can draw from these comparisons over here. Yeah, no issues with the face as well. Now we come back to my earlier question on whether you should buy this figure given the very convincing asking price of 9,800 yen. Now there are two factors you need to consider because there is a reason why the value is so low over here. Yes, surely the quality being poor is one of the main reasons. Number two that made it even worse was the shipping cost, you see. This is very common among anime figures where figures with a very large box, doesn't matter from what anime or game it came from. Doesn't matter what character, if the box of that figure turns out to be bigger than expected, there will be people who pre-order it initially who cancel their pre-order because they couldn't afford the shipping cost, and as a result, there is an overstock over at the figure store. So they are trying their best to get rid of the figure by lowering the asking price so that it helps in absorbing the shipping cost. In fact, that is what I have been taking advantage of as a FGO figure collector. Like, I wait for bargain bins like this because I want to absorb some shipping cost. So it makes sense. Now, if you tell me this figure is very expensive to ship, which some of you did, I'm not surprised at all because of all those separate parts on the base, right? They will be separated in the box normally. Because if they ship the whole thing as one piece, a lot of people are going to receive broken figures for sure. You separate all of that in separate compartments in the box, it is going to increase the size of the box. I have no idea how much it costs to ship this thing to the US or to Canada, but we are talking about half a planet away from Japan, literally, so it can't be cheap. So for those of you who end up paying 5 digits in Japanese yen just to ship this figure, I would say it is not worth it. The second factor is what kind of figure collector you are, specifically what stage you are in. If you are a veteran, you have been doing this for many years, you have 100, 200 figures in your collection, space is precious and you don't want to waste it on garbage. So that might not be a good buy, right? But if you are a new figure collector, you have 10 or 15 figures only, and to you the hobby of collecting anime figures are no different from a competition of PP size where more is better, bigger is better, and you want to increase your figure collection as fast as possible, then you might want to consider this. Yeah. So it really depends on what kind of priorities you have as a figure collector. For me, I have never been a fan of Chainsaw Man. I won't even consider buying a figure like this one. Like the one by Amakuni, maybe I'll consider that if that one bargain bins, which I think is a bit unlikely because we are talking about Amakuni's quality over there. But for this figure over here, like, if this scale figure was flat out 98,000 yen, right? And shipping this thing maybe will cost me 3,000 yen. Then I wouldn't mind picking one up if I have spare budget. But the thing is that there is no way shipping this figure from Japan to my country will cost me 3,000 yen, so my answer is no. Or if this is the price I see in a local figure store in my country where I can walk in and buy it at 9,800 yen, which is impossible, no way that is happening, then yeah, I might consider picking one up just to see the figure for myself and maybe even review it so that I can trash it more now that I have the definite evidence of how bad it is. Yeah, I think the fact that this figure went viral 2 or 3 days ago and now she is not yet sold out speaks volumes. Yeah, perhaps not a wise purchase. One last question for you guys before I move on to the next figure. Have you seen a bigger discount than this before in terms of percentage? Like 150,000 yen of discount, 33,000 yen. Yeah, 33,000 yen off is a lot, but that is only like 15%. This is like 70% discount, 35k down to 10k, right? Have you seen a bigger percentage of discounts before? Let me know down in the comments below. For me, I have seen 90% before, literally 90%. It happened over a decade ago. I don't know if you are old enough to have heard of this anime called Vivid Raid Operation, right? Good Smile and a number of other figure companies, including Griffin Enterprises, made figures from this anime. And that anime flopped so badly, it never went beyond season 1. And then the figure sales was really bad, and the figures from that series received an average of 50% all the way to 90% in discount. There was this one figure of Ishiki Akane, that was her name, I still remember, because it was so special back then for the discount. 90% off, I forgot which company made it, like literally a 9,000 yen figure down to 1,000 yen. And that discount was on Hobby Link Japan. Yes, HLJ. And this power figure over here is probably top 3. the biggest discounts I've seen in my life as a figure collector. Top 3, but not first place, right? Okay, we move on to the next figure over here. This is not as big of a discount, but where can you find an Albedo scale figure at 11,000 yen? I think this is the first time I'm seeing an Albedo scale at 11k. But this is down from 18k, which is 30%-ish discount over here. Well, 18,500 yen is already pretty low for an Albedo figure. Most Albedo figures go for 25k and up, right? So what is wrong with this figure? Here is a user picture of this figure, and I would say for 18,000 yen originally, this is decent, right? Most of the details are preserved in this figure. I mean, if we zoom in her face, yes, the shading above her eye, the eyeliners, the pink color shading, even her lips, the lipstick, the pink lipstick, it is there. So that is quite good. I know her face looks a bit elongated in this picture, but that is just smartphone camera doing its distortion effect over there. Smartphone camera problem, not because of the sculpting. So this is good news, at least for the face, because some figure brands, what they do is that they show you a very pretty face in their product pictures, and then when the final figure comes out, the eyeliners are missing, or the blush on the face is missing, the lipstick is missing, something like that. It happens very frequently actually. Just like you saw that girl you like, she is really pretty, but she is always wearing a light makeup. But once you succeed in getting her, once she becomes yours, she stops wearing the makeup. So you get to see a bare face every day, something like that. So this figure of Albedo, nothing quite wrong with it, yet she bargain bins in a way. So what is the problem over here? I think this is more of a simple case of oversaturation. Like FuRyu has made too many Albedo figures, so you reach a point where you exceed the demand, you have too much overstock, and the price goes down. This is a comparison between the FuRyu Yukata version and Union Creative's version of Albedo. I will tell you guys to get the Union Creative version. That one is not expensive. The Union Creative version of Albedo is around 25,000 yen before discounts, if any. And yeah, she is way bigger, somewhere between 1.7 to 1.6, right? So I would say even the Union Creative one is a better buy over the Yukata version, but of course, she will cost a lot more. Should you get one? I think if you just want a cheap Albedo figure, you can consider this one. This is not bad really. Okay, moving on to the next one. 35,000 yen down to 20,000 yen, not surprised at all. This figure almost made it into my list of the worst figure of the year awards back in year 2023. Yeah, December last year. So I do an annual award as a tradition on this channel, and one or two of FuRyu's Albedo figures made it into the list, but not this version. Why this figure had a big discount? Very simple. Here is your answer. 2 huge metal rods supporting the wings. And to be fair to the figure, right, her face and everywhere else, the main body and everything, she looks fine. The problem is the wings look horrible. Did you know what was the first thing that came into my mind when I saw the wings of this Albedo sagging down and having to be supported by a pair of metal rods? Yes, reminded me of Dead Crows in a way. And this is not the only one. Next Albedo figure, this one, I'm surprised that this is not cheaper. See, 44,000 yen down to 35,000 yen. So this is a 9,000 yen discount. But to be honest, this should be lower. This should be 25,000 yen or less. I know I'm being very harsh over here, because last year when I nominated this figure for being one of the worst of year 2023, what did we get back then? Yeah, she is offering seaweed to her god or something like that. Like, that was literally my insult back then. Okay, next one over here. Here is another huge discount, almost 50%. Yep. 60% of it, 50%, exactly half price off. We have Kana from Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid Finest Kimono. 18,000 yen down to 9,000 yen. So what happened to this figure? Okay, this is a user picture over here. And to be fair to the figure, the level of detail on her kimono is quite outstanding. Not the best I've seen, but quite outstanding. Like, there is nothing much wrong with this figure overall. As far as I can see, is there shading on the hair? Yes, there is. Like, the middle portion here is lighter lavender, and then at the very edges over here, you can see the color intensifying a bit. So I think this figure looks fine. So I have no clue what happened to this figure. The shipping can't be expensive because this is a lolly character, a small figure, a small box. This can't be expensive to ship. I truly have no idea what happened to this thing, but at the same time, maybe when you rotate this figure around, her face will start looking a bit weird, but I think this is just a matter of viewing angle. So, does this figure have any quality control issues? Let me know down in the comments below if you own one, right? If there is nothing wrong with this figure, I would say this for 9,000 yen is a very good purchase indeed. So you might want to take advantage of this offer. Moving on to the next figure, the next few figures in fact. The reason for their depreciation is very simple. It does not necessarily have anything to do with the quality of Furyo's figures. It is simply because they are seasonal anime characters. And sometimes I just have to give Furyo and Phoenix some credit for their willingness to pick up seasonal anime characters and making them into higher quality scale figures, because very few anime figure brands are willing to do that. Like, you look at the top tier figure brands, Amakuni, Q-Skill, Alter, Eastream, and so on, right? If they do figures of anime characters, they go for the popular anime, Sword Art Online, Mushoku Tensei, and so on, right? Do you see them picking up characters from anime with 12 or 13 episodes? They don't. So Furyo is more than willing to do that. So at least that is something nice about them over here. So we have Unmei from Takt of Destiny, one single season, 12 to 13 episodes as well. I watched the anime. For me, the anime was kind of mid. Yeah, it was entertaining, but that is it. Nothing special. So this one going from 22,000 yen almost down to 11,000 yen. Yeah, almost a half price over here. If you like this character, I would say pick one up. This is not a bad buy. Judging by user photos, of course. She is very pretty. She has a very attractive face. Can I click on this picture? Yeah, her face is pretty. And that alone is enough of a reason to buy it. Like the rest of the figure, there is minimal amount of shading. There is some of it, like, yeah, the chest over here, you see, brighter red, and then down here, this is not shadow, this is shading, darker red down here, there is some shading. So this is more than good enough. 11,000 yen is a good buy, right? So yeah, today's video is that I'm here to tell you which Furyo figure to get from this sale and which one to avoid, like that that power figure earlier, avoid it. But this figure of Destiny or Unmei, this could be a very good buy if you like her as a character, you like the character design. Once again, we have more pictures over here. Yeah, I'm loving the metallic paint on the sword. The face, this photo is out of focus, but I think the focus here is on her gold color paintwork over there. Looks very solid. And I mean, look at her torso, the body here, right? The gold color stripe, it is very accurately painted. No paint bleeding visible over here. Like, this is literally better than what Fat Company is able to do in some of their more expensive figures. So this figure of Unmei is a good purchase, really. And yeah, we move on. This is the best picture of her, I think. That is why I clicked on it. Yeah, the best looking picture of her by a user in MFC. Once again, very pretty face. Moving on to the next one over here. Okay, this Ram figure could potentially be a good buy as well. For me, I am not a big fan of these wedding dress figures because it feels very repetitive. Like, every waifu material character, eventually some figure brand will put her in a wedding dress. And wedding dress figures mean the whole dress in white color. Like, not my kind of thing, right? I like a lot of colors, I like details, I like vibrant colors and so on. So this is the exact opposite of what I like. But at the same time, I think Furyo did a fabulous job. On the face of this figure, the paintwork, like the hair, this kind of material will be subjective. Some of you like translucent material for the hair, some of you don't like, but I think it is very well executed over here. And as you can see, this was my main complaint earlier, where I said the dress is just pure white and nothing else. They tried to give the dress a bit of character, a bit of detail by having, I call this 3D details, like embossing of some kind, like literally 3D details. But because of those 3D details, they don't have to do so much paint work in terms of shading. So this is a very common trick among price figures nowadays, like Taito Kofu price figures. Their main feature is literally all these 3D embossing details on their price figures, right? Okay, so this one for 25,000 yen before discount, I would be really hesitating to pick one up, even if assuming I am a fan of RAM. But for 13,000 yen, it is worth considering. At the same time, be careful because this figure could be expensive to ship, right? I mean, you look at her wedding dress spreading out like that, the box can't be small. So remember to factor that in. Yeah, you see? Ami just mentioned here, shipping cost for this item may be very high due to package size. Not that I'm surprised after looking at her dress. The same thing can be said for this figure of Emilia, half price as well. If you like Emilia, buy it. If you think Emilia is trash, then buy a RAM, right? This figure of Emilia, there are really no other ways to explain it other than oversaturation. Like, there are way too many RAM and Emilia figures out there. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with that. And in a way, Furyu is cannibalizing their own market because they make decent RAM and RAM price figures, and then now it is affecting the sales of their very own scale figures. Yeah. Moving on to the next one. Even Azalane is not an exception to this bargain bin. Suruga straight-faced model student version 1/7 scale from Furyu 28,400 yen down to almost 10,000 yen. Almost 70% off. Oh. So what is wrong? Very simple. See, number one, this thing looks like trash when you compare it to Alters or even Apex Toys Azalane figures. Like, this thing is third rate in comparison. Let's take a look at user pictures over here. Literally only 6 user pictures, like barely anyone bought it. And for a very good reason. I mean, this looks so dull. The figure is... You know, there is nothing quite wrong with the sculpting. I mean, when you compare it to the product pictures, there is nothing much wrong with the figure. Just that the cannon she is carrying, yeah, it looks like it looks like cosplay prop. A low budget cosplay prop made from plastic. It is so simple, right? You compare this to any Azalane figure by other brands and this one pales in comparison. Like, it couldn't compete at all. Which is why it is no surprise this thing bargain bins. Yeah. The entire figure is just really dull, and I just have to feel bad for those people who paid 28,000 yen for this thing. It is not worth it at all. Moving on to the next one, yeah, this is something seasonal, literally Chinese New Year version. So after Chinese New Year is over, the value goes down. Not surprised at all. Hatsune Miku. Miku has a similar problem where there are too many figures of her out there. Literally oversaturated. So some Miku figures are going to fall victim to big discounts. Moving on to the next one, this is a perfect example of how badly seasonal anime characters hold in terms of value. Even more so when Furyu had the habit of overpricing their figures in an outlandish manner just a year or two ago. This thing was literally 27,500 yen when she went on pre-order. And when you look at the figure as an entire package, this is some sort of a lolly JK only. Nothing much going on. A very simple figure. And yeah, 27,000 yen, man. I have no idea what they are thinking. And even for 11,000 yen, I wouldn't buy this thing. You know, anime fans are some of the least loyal people out there. Like, they change waifu as if they are changing clothes sometimes. Of course, I don't mean all of you. For me, I'm loyal to Tosaka Rin, right? She is my number one waifu. Anything with Tosaka Rin face, she is my waifu for the past decade or two. Okay, we move on to the next one over here. Once again, my master has no tail. I think this one had 2 seasons, if I remembered correctly. Seasonal anime to me still. And yeah, 29, almost 30,000 yen down to 24k. This one had a smaller discount than I expected, but I feel that the price can be lower than this. Yeah, and seriously, this thing for 30k, I remember covering this figure in Figure News Fix like last year, way back last year. I criticized it and my opinion remains the same today. Moving on to the next one, this figure was a head scratcher to me when Furyu announced it way back a year ago. Like, why did they make a figure of Princess Crystal from Mawaru Penguin Drum? Because the anime ad so many years ago, maybe the original source material is popular, I don't know. And Good Smile and Kotobukiya both made a scale figure of this character. Within months after the figure came out, they bargain binned like crazy, 50-70%, right? So I don't know why Furyu even attempted this figure, but it seems like she is holding on her value quite well over here. 28,000 yen down to 22k, but still I think it could be lower, right? If you like the character design, then maybe it is worth considering, but I would rather you hunt for the Good Smile version which came out many years ago over at Mandarake or Mercari. It is way cheaper, trust me, and that is a very decent figure. Next one over here, Yuri is My Job, seasonal anime, but this is a smaller price cut than I expected, 19k down to 15k. Could be cheaper, I would say, right? And lastly, before I end this video today, a quick mention about Free Ink. Free Ink was in second place right behind Furyu when it comes to the number of figures on sale in AmiAmi. And a quick glance, I could almost see that a lot of those on discount, yeah, stuff that are probably overproduced. Azur, maybe some of you are surprised that Azur figures are getting discounted. It is just a simple matter of overproduction, see? Like every figure brand, they are jumping on the Azur bandwagon just because they think it is easy money and then they overproduce it. This is exactly the result. We have Shimakaze on discount, 46,000 yen down to 30,000 yen. Great purchase, seriously. As long you don't mind the fact that the figure can fall off very easily from her bar stool. Black Rock Shooter, not surprised. 35k down to 21k. Not surprised at all. Black Rock Shooter was the hottest thing 10 years ago. Nowadays, I don't think so. Like, even with the anime adaptation, she is still relatively niche in a way. New game, seasonal anime. And then Eden's Zero. Okay, this is not a bargain bin. This doesn't count. 38,000 yen down to 34k. Doesn't count really. There we go. Azur again, Baltimore. 36,000 yen down to 27,000 yen. I mean, you guys who collect 1x4 scale is going to have fun over here. And to me, the standout figure, I think it is in the next page. Right? The next page, let's have a look. Yeah. This New Jersey figure where a lot of YouTubers reviewed it because she was amazing. From 66,000 yen down to 50,000 yen. Yeah, I would say that is still a rather significant price cut. So pick one up. And look, wow, even Chainsaw Man is getting discounts. I thought that Power would sell out and become rare and expensive. Same thing applies to Makima simply because, you know, it was the hottest thing on the planet last year. But to see them in the sale section, even 10% off is quite surprising to me. Or maybe it is because this pair of figures, especially Power, had quality control issues with paintwork. Yeah, not every copy, some of them. But to see these two getting discounted is a bit of a surprise to me. Yeah, I guess that is all for today's video. Like, will you take advantage of this sale over here? What will you buy? Or what will you not buy at all? Like, you won't touch it at all? Let me know down in the comments below. Share with me your opinion if you own any Furyu figures. It might sound like a surprise to you, but having collected figures for 15 or 16 years by now, I don't have a single Furyu scale figure. Yes, not even one. Price figures, yes, I do own them, but not the scale figures mainly because they are not making the stuff I want, rather than me not being happy with their quality. Me not being happy with their quality is just a secondary factor that only appeared in the recent couple of years, right? They have never made the stuff I liked, and when they did make a pair of Ishtar and Ereshkigal figures a number of years ago, around 25 or 27,000 yen each, but I did not like their faces, which is why I did not buy them as a FGO collector. I would rather go for Aniplex Ishtar. Yeah, that one which falls off very easily. At least the sculpting on that Ishtar is 100% perfect. Yeah. So that is all for today's video, a bit of an opinion sharing session. If you found this helpful, yeah, give this video a like and subscribe to this channel for anime figure content every week. Until then, I'll see you guys again very soon. Goodbye.